Welcome to Limited Lives, the podcast where we play short games and give big opinions and sometimes bad takes. My name is Matt, and today I am joined by
Dennis
and Phil.
Wonderful, smooth. Today we're going to be talking about a game called Travel on Pigeon, which is the first rhythm music game that we've played on this podcast. So I wanted to ask a question before we dive into that game. I wanted to ask, what is your favorite rhythm music game of all time, if you have one? Let's start with you, Phil.
I'm gonna have to go with Parappa the Rapper. I think I just have to.
That's a good choice.
It was a close one. It is a close one because I do love Bust a Move. We talked about that before, and I think I actually probably played Bust a Move more overall, but I think Parappa the Rapper is more like a classic, nostalgic. You know what I mean? I have a soft spot for it.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, Parappa the Rapper. I want to remake
that game. That game rules.
It does. I actually forgot about that game. It's a good choice. How about you, Dennis?
Space Channel 5.
Ooh, another good choice.
Oh
wow, that's a definite one for you. Interesting.
Yeah, without hesitation.
I vaguely remember that game though. Like
that's good.
They're like a shopping mall or something.
Parappa and Space Channel 5 have a similar gameplay style.
Yeah.
Because a rhythm game or music game can have a lot of different gameplay styles. Obviously, they vary, but I would say those two are pretty similar from what I remember.
I would agree.
Yeah, and also the sequel, Space Channel 5 Part 2. But yeah, I always loved the aesthetic of those games and the music. Yeah, just the especially that Dreamcast vibe.
Oh yeah,
that Dreamcast era art style. Sega just kicking ass and doing cool stuff that you don't see as much anymore.
Yeah, that game was Dreamcast through and through. I also really enjoyed that game too. I think I have it on Steam as well. I think
I think the sequel is available on Steam, but maybe not the first one.
Yeah, maybe it's the sequel that I have on Steam.
The sequel was an Xbox exclusive, at least in North America, I think.
Cool. Yeah. All right, those are both very solid answers. Mine.
Also, want to say, by the way, Sega is, supposedly bringing back old franchises. And I really would love to see a new Space Channel 5.
Yeah. I think Jet Set Radio is one that they're basically have officially said that they're bringing out again. Space Channel 5 would be another great one to see from their back catalog.
You occasionally see Ooh La La or even Jet Set characters appeared in that Sonic Racing Transformed
Yeah.
They pop up every now and then in the background. They haven't forgotten about them.
Right. So it's not like they just ignore them or pretend like they don't exist or anything.
Right.
They're totally aware.
Sega is dead, y'all. Dead.
Sega's around. They're just a publisher mostly.
I mean, what are they going to do once they're out of these?
What do you mean Sega's dead, dude? Sega owns Atlas. They Yakuza and Persona. Those games are huge.
I was going to say they do a lot. But not developers so much. Not so much developing.
I mean, they publish those games, but Yakuza is largely a Sega developed game.
Okay, I'll give Yakuza. I'll give you Yakuza.
It's the same studio that develops Virtua Fighter.
The Atlas is not really, Sega.
And Sega develops it, or publishes it. Anyway, Sega's not dead.
Atlas
Sega's
is a Sega-owned developer now. They bought Atlas. Yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of like Naughty Dog and Sony.
Let's go back to battling Sega online on the internet.
You just hate every Japanese developer, it sounds like.
No, I love FromSoft.
Except for Capcom.
I love Capcom, FromSoft. I love who else is there? Who do we got? Is that it? Nintendo?
See, that's what I mean. Nintendo. Okay.
I love Nintendo.
It's hard to hate them. Well, I guess it can be easy to hate them.
I think that's it though.
Yeah.
Still racist.
Slightly.
Yeah, just hate the Japanese devs. It's because
No.
they're not buying into this woke DEI stuff. It's because they release games with sexy
They're,
girls on them.
they're
Phil hates
not
that.
they're not taking chances anymore. They made a stamp their mark in the gaming industry by taking chances and risk and
Put some
innovating. They've
put
just
some
been
pants
like,
on. Ooh la la.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's too
It's
Skirt is
like-
too
sexy.
short.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't want to think about that. Yeah,
Okay. Well,
make Sega
My-
great again. Okay.
yes. All right. My choice is a bit more underground, or probably not nearly as well known as your choices. I'm actually like I used to be more so a massive rhythm game person. This was a 2001 game called Frequency for the PS2. Do either of you know that game?
Sounds
It rings a bell.
familiar. Yeah.
It was fucking great. It was so fun. I loved that game. But it's actually the first game Harmonix ever developed. The people who made like Guitar Hero and then Rock Band. It was their first ever game, and it also had a really great sequel game called Amplitude as well. The
That
Frequency.
I don't recognize.
Oh, okay. It was really fun, and it was also the first game that I played online from a console. At least you could play it online using your PlayStation 2 network adapter thing, and I think it was one of the first ones that I did that with. It also has a really awesome Frequency has a really awesome intro, like a real life video of like DJs in a club and everyone's going crazy, and the DJs look ridiculous. They have the most ridiculous outfits on, and they put like these goggles on, and it becomes like this. They start playing the game basically while they're DJing to this crazy crowd. It's really nuts. Super like early 90s, early 2000s vibes on it. But yeah, great games. But I also was like, Busted Groove. I love that too. Dance Dance Revolution. I was also really into Dance Dance Revolution and, Parappa, the ones you mentioned as well. So, but that was my choice just because I think it really opened my eyes to the world of rhythm games. I loved Frequency. It was so much fun. All right.
Rhythm
Yeah.
games are cool. Like, and I think it's a genre that doesn't get enough love.
I agree. I think there should be more. So I appreciate this dev, trying their hand at it. It's a genre that needs more attention.
A shout out. I guess maybe it's just because of the medium, but like, there's a lot of rhythm games on like VR platforms.
That's true.
Like
Beat Saber.
Beat Saber is huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Pistol Whip, Synth Riders, even Rez, which was Rez was a Dreamcast game, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Which
Originally.
that got ported to VR. Like,
Mhm.
so I feel like VR has had a little bit of a second life there in
That's true.
our rhythm games in VR,
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay.
which makes sense, because you're using your body, so it's a little bit more intuitive than just pushing buttons. But
Yeah.
For sure.
go play VR games, rhythm VR games, people.
Does anyone remember Samba de Amigo? That was another fun one.
Oh, yeah.
With the
Yeah, that was fun.
maracas on the Dreamcast. Another classic.
Donkey Konga?
Yeah. I think they had the Tub Thumpin' in there was one of the songs. I remember
Oh
that.
God,
Like,
I get
yeah.
knocked down. No, wait,
There
no,
was
that's
classics in
Chumbawamba.
there. Chumbawamba, yeah. I think that's the name of the song.
I
right?
get knocked down and I get up
I get
again.
knocked down. Tub Thumping is the name of the song. Chumbawamba is the band.
Is the
I get knocked
artist.
down is just the chorus.
The lyrics.
Yeah.
Probably, the main lyrics everyone
Yes,
remembers.
They got Hanson also, man. They got Hanson on there.
Did they?
I don't
They got
know.
all
They
the-
probably don't have Hanson.
All
Hanson
the
was just
most
around
embarrassing
that time, I
hits of
guess.
the 90s.
Yeah. That was a fun game, though. Really unique. Good game. All right. Well, very good. So yeah, as I mentioned, today we are playing a rhythm. It's like a rhythm music puzzle game. It's also a puzzle game. It's not just like a classic rhythm game. It features this traveling pigeon, which is why it's called Travel on Pigeon. He travels to different areas and does this. It was released very recently, which is actually why I chose this game that's the main reason, because it came out March 14th. It was very recent, developed by this kind of a indie developer couple, two people. They're from Colombia. I believe they live in Sweden. They're called Fog Angler. That's the name of their development company. I did actually talk to them a little bit through email about this game because I was a bit curious about, how they came about putting it together and what their history is and things like that. So they did tell me that they actually, they work full time, and they put this game together in their spare time over a course of 2 years. I think a lot of indie devs do that these days. I think like the Animal Well guy did the same thing, but I think his game took like 7 years. I'm sure he doesn't have to work anymore at a full-time job. But yeah, so 2 years, and they do work in the gaming industry, or at least they have. They've developed other games for companies before and released those games, but this is their first time putting out their own game. So that was cool. Cool to hear from them. It, is their very first independent game that they've put out. And yeah, so I wanted to just hear what you guys thought about this game in one sentence. What could you describe, your thoughts briefly? So let's start with, who do we have here? Sorry, let's start with Phil.
It took me 89 minutes to beat this game.
89, okay.
89 minutes. And the game's kind of like, because I just looked, I was like, yeah, 89 minutes. And it is kind of like, with cotton candy and, a pigeon traveling the world, but it's a dangerous world out there, even though it looks like cotton candy. That's all I got to say.
Okay. I like it. I like that. Yeah. All right. It's accurate cotton candy. How about you, Dennis?
This also took me right around the same. I played the demo. I played the game on my PC, and I tried to play on Steam Deck. I think between that, my time is longer, but the actual core time to finish to roll credits is about an hour and a half.
I don't think this game has credits, by the way. Did it?
No, I don't think it does. Just ends.
Roll credits, just turn the phrase, I guess, in this
right.
case.
Yeah.
But it's a charming game visually and sonically. That I think just kind of failed for me on a mechanical or gameplay level, and just kind of I was mostly bored with. But visually and and the music was great. I want to get that out there, but yeah, ultimately I kind of did not enjoy it.
Gotcha. Yeah, for me, I found it to be a very fun. I mean, I thought it was fun. It's very simple. I do think it could have used a bit more time in the oven, as they say. I think it needed a bit more polish, especially for UI stuff and controller support. I had to play it on mouse and keyboard. I tried to, like you, Dennis, I tried to play on the Steam Deck, and I just found it basically unplayable for the most part. I couldn't get it to work. I couldn't get the timing down, and then, I tried it with controller on my PC. That didn't really work very well either. So but once I used mouse and keyboard, it worked. But anyway, basically, I think it just needed a bit more time to iron out those things and maybe be a tiny bit more fleshed out in terms of the polish and UI and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Agreed. And that was probably my main gripe the entire time, was especially because I liked how it looked, and it looked like there was some care taken, and that, especially if it was only, 2 people developing this game, you can see it has its own personality.
Yeah, for sure.
It just, I ran into a lot of jankiness that just ruined the experience for me. And,
yeah.
But even if it was completely polished, I don't think it would be for me either, though, because I think it's a very casual kind of, I don't know, there's not enough there for me to feel like a satisfactory sense of progression, really.
No, I get that. I understand.
It's easy is kind of,
it was pretty
part
easy.
of what I'm getting at. But I also feel like, especially because of those hiccups I had, if it were any more difficult, it probably would have been a lot more frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is on that edge of I kind of almost wanted it easier in a way. Like, okay, this is the type of game. Maybe I do not want any obstacles. Like these people killing me, just kind of frustrating me.
I think it'd be a little
So,
too easy if there
but
was
then it would
no.
be too easy. But then if it was more difficult, I would be more annoyed kind of with it. So it was on
Hmm.
this weird, like, how do you really make it? Either maybe double down and make it more of a puzzle game without the death part, or
I mean,
something. Or
it's pretty generous though with like the checkpoints, and
It,
it's not like
it is. So I'm not complaining because it was like, yeah, you jump right back in kind of, but it is sometimes
Yeah.
just annoying to kind of get around these people who are just murdering me for some reason, man. I'm just wearing my swag. I'm trying to walk around as a pigeon in town, and they keep trying to stop me.
yeah, that's that's what happens. People trying to kill these pigeons.
Why isn't anybody? I feed the pigeons. You know, I'm a friend to the pigeons out there. No one's out there. No one's friendly to a pigeon.
There should
in
be
this
like
game.
friendly characters that like help you.
They like help, yeah, maybe get you from point A to point B or something, or old
Right.
man, Jenkins who helps you out, shows up
Oh,
once in a
man,
while
Jenkins.
and throws you some pigeon feed or something.
I will reiterate that overall I enjoyed this game. I enjoyed it. I just think it could I wanted it to be more a kind of type of thing, and I wanted it to be a little bit more of a smoother experience. I don't want to say modern, but you know what I mean, I think. Let's jump in to talk about the gameplay first. Could you give us a little intro on how the game works, Dennis?
So you are a pigeon on an isometric kind of grid-based isometric grid levels, basically. So and you basically have to get from point A to point B, but it's very difficult to do so because you have various obstacles in your path. And also you have to move to the rhythm, not really the rhythm of the music. You're basically moving to the rhythm of a metronome in
Yeah.
the game.
But it is matched with the music, I would say.
It is, but it doesn't really feel like you're.
Mm.
This is one of my complaints in the game. It doesn't feel like you're actually vibing or doing anything rhythm based with the music. It really just feels like you're. It feels like you're just pushing a button to some synchronized rhythm over
Right.
and over again. Like
It doesn't have any direct connection with the music other than the beat
Right.
being the same.
right,
If that makes sense.
And that so you can't move unless you hit that rhythm, which is marked for you by a metronome sound, which is meant to. It is in sync with the music as well, but the music, which changes in each world, I think it would have been too hard probably to let you just sync up with the music. So they have to have that metronome in there to help the players get a sense of the beat. And there are pedestrians everywhere. These are very like loose concepts of what a world would really look like. But there are
Yeah.
pedestrians in the sense of like people crossing and walking everywhere. But everything is very colorful, obviously. So there are different obstacles that you'll have to deal with, like for example gates that block your path, or water levels that you need to adjust so that you can get to the paths that you need to. There's some Sokoban block puzzles, and two of the worlds have those that you need to like push blocks into place to open up paths. But you really, everything is played with directional controls. They give you a few options if you want to use the arrow keys, AWSD, up, down, or joystick on your controller. Although, like Matt said, I couldn't get controller to work properly.
Yeah, me neither.
I played with the keyboard in the end. That was the easiest. You do have a lifeline. You start without one, but as you can pick up these items. They're like cosmetic items throughout each level, and each level has their own specific ones. Like you get sunglasses or an umbrella or a teddy bear or a pirate hat. And if you have one of those on your pigeon, he puts it on or holds it, depending on what it is, which is very cute.
It is, yeah.
And it kind of acts like a like almost like Sonic the Hedgehog's rings. Like, because if you get hit by a pedestrian or something, you drop that item, but you can go and pick it up again to like gain that health back. Otherwise, you'll be killed. Basically, you die on one hit. If the collision detection works correctly, you'll die on one hit. Yeah, so I think for collectors, they'll probably want to get those because they unlock like in your souvenir items tab. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm missing anything in particular. But
yeah, it is pretty simple. I think, the difficulty does ramp up, I think, as you travel along. Like, this starts off just point A to point B with just a few obstacles, and it introduces the gate, and then that you have to like open the gate at a different place and then go to the gate. And then there's like you said, pushing the blocks and things like that. So it does like have a bit of a ramp up, but it never really gets hard, I would say.
It like resets each stage pretty much. Like I was worried it would get like harder and harder and harder, but it kind of resets when you're at the first part of the
right.
world.
Each world has 8 levels within each world or location.
Yeah.
And there's
like
5
level
worlds.
1 for each world tends to be very simple and short and easy, whereas
it's kind of like
8
introducing you to a mechanic
right
for that world. Yeah, each world has like its own mechanic, which I was surprised they didn't
reminded
carry
me
over.
of. I mean, a lot of games have done that. Even Humanity did this when we played Humanity.
Yeah.
You'd go to a new world and there'd be a new gimmick to that world.
Right.
This is on a much smaller, simpler scale, but it's that same like gameplay development like philosophy is here.
I do wish, and Phil just mentioned this, but I do wish they had brought over mechanics from the previous worlds into the following worlds to increase the kind of complexity. But in reality, or what they actually did is just have one mechanic for each world, and the mechanics don't get carried on to the next one. So you just have to figure that one mechanic out, and then you can do it. So I think that might have been a nice addition. But yeah, I mean, it is very simple. The controls, like you said, are simple. But I had some issues with using anything but the mouse and keyboard. Anything from you, Phil, on the gameplay?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if they carried over. I guess it would have made it a lot more complicated, but like maybe they could have carried that over and not had the people trying to kill me, and that could have been something. I don't know, but that was pretty simple. So
the hardest part of the game is trying not to get killed by the pedestrians, because they all like have different movements. Some of them are walking around back and forth. Some of them are spinning around, and it's just like you have to just avoid hitting them. And the hard part, I guess, is the timing of because you have to move on the beat. You can't just move around them freely. You have to move with the beat to make sure you're timing it right for when they're moving out of the way. So that's kind of where the challenge comes from.
The closest analog to this game that I've played is Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Yes, that is definitely the closest.
Which is a very popular rhythm roguelike RPG game. That has that similar same kind of play style where you move around on a grid, although that's just a 2D grid, not an isometric 3D one. But yeah, you move with the rhythm, and you can't move. I think in that game you actually can move off rhythm, but you're encouraged to move on.
I think
on
you
the
get
beat to gain like
combos
power.
Or something, right?
Yeah, I think you get a multiplier
right.
for your attacks and things. Whereas this game blocks you from moving if you're off beat.
Right.
And
so if you
one thing I will say outright, like I never fully was able to calibrate my keyboard, controller, anything. Keyboard I had the best luck with, but I could not calibrate correctly to the beat. So every time I played, I felt like, well, I'm not pushing the keys to the beat. I'm calculating in my head like the time before the beat registers and when I push the key to match the rhythm of the music or of the metronome in the game.
I had that problem with controller, but I
still had that problem with keyboard, and I don't know. It just, and especially in when I was doing the calibration, there's like a little mini calibration menu that you go to that allows you to calibrate. it felt the worst
Yeah.
within the calibration menu. It just did
Yeah.
not feel right.
Yeah, I think the sounds. I don't know. I feel like that part needed that part.
Something seems out of sync there.
Yeah.
You just gotta find your own rhythm, man. Like you find your own
that's
rhythm.
That's the thing. Like I
Right.
felt like I was finding my own rhythm every time.
Which makes it extra challenging.
And then like,
Yeah.
and because you recalibrate every level, or maybe it's every world.
There's every
or
world, I
definitely-
think.
Yeah, you recalibrate again, and then it just kind of, you know, it's like every time I played, it's like, well, I'm a little like it's almost like playing with input lag, on a game, like when you're emulating something or when you're playing something streaming.
Yeah, that's very frustrating. I guess I didn't run into that issue with mouse and keyboard, but I did run into it heavily on the Steam Deck. I'm not sure why Steam Deck specifically, but yeah, it was basically just like impossible because I would never be able to move when I wanted to move because unless I got into the weird like kind of what's the word? Like off tempo flow of hitting it at the right time, which is very challenging.
About the UI, I remember doing the first world and like I was like, oh, is this it? Like it wasn't very clear how you even get to the next state, like the next area, and like I think you got to hit tab or something. It was a bit weird. Yeah, I can't really figure that out.
And on I tried to do that on Steam Deck, and I couldn't even figure out a way to move to the next world. Like
I had the same problem.
It
Like
just didn't work.
That's probably my largest complaint is just the UI was very hard to use and it wasn't it didn't behave the way you would expect it to behave at all. I don't think this game was optimized for controllers very much. So yeah, and even on keyboard it could still pose a challenge to try to get to the menu what you want to do.
I think you hit tab. I'm not sure. Hit tab to get around to it.
Just
like you said, it needs more time in the oven. I think you know, I mean, I don't know how long it took them, but you know, you said they have full-time.
A couple years.
You know, a few more months to polish.
That seems like a kind of easy fix, though. I don't know if that's something they're worth, they're going to do, but
yeah, it was just a UI issue, and I think that is, like you said, it's not a massive, huge lift to solve that. I don't think it could be fixed. I think, and they probably still could. They could put out a patch that probably fixes it. So hopefully they do that. And it'd be cool if they add more worlds. If they do add more worlds, I would probably go back and play just because they're so simple. Like you can get through one world in like 20, 30 minutes, play like all 8 stages within that time pretty easily. So yeah, it's pretty easy to jump into. At least it has that going for it. But let's perhaps jump over to the vibe.
Yeah, the vibe. So the vibe is, like I kind of said at the beginning, a bit like, you can imagine like a cotton candy world, kind of. It's very pink and pastel, like very bright colors. Everything is like kind of a tone of like, light blue, light pink, light purple. And it's kind of like upbeat, and I guess I could just kind of maybe say groovy, maybe is a word, because the music kind of makes you think of groovy. It's supposed to be kind of inspired by J-pop or city pop music.
Right.
So which is kind of like Japanese 80s kind of like pop.
It had Japanese lyrics too.
Yeah, a couple of songs did.
Yeah. And I think the first like world or something, I don't know if it like some of the songs sounded like very much the same, but I think I did really like one of the songs, and maybe the fifth world, the water world or something. I was like, oh, actually, I could potentially listen to this like outside of the game. Yeah, so the music's kind of maybe, I'm not going to say it's like the ultimate draw, but it's pretty good for what it is. I'm not sure how you might have asked, did they get asked someone to make this?
Yeah, so because I agree, like I feel like the music was a highlight for me. I actually really enjoyed listening to the music and it worked, and like surprisingly it worked well, because you're in these stages for a while and in this world for a while, and the song is basically just on a loop, but it still worked. Like I never felt like, oh, I'm so sick of this song. I was kind of vibing with it and enjoying it, even though it was playing in a loop. So it was like, I was impressed. I liked it. So I asked them about that. They said it was it's original music made for the game, but they didn't make it. They I guess hired this person named Sapphire Dragoon. Sorry, apologies.
What a name.
Sapphire Dragoon, who I guess is also from Colombia, at least from what I could find. and they just gave, I guess they worked with her before, Zafar Dragoon before, and they just gave her some direction on like what the game is and what kind of vibes they're going for. And I guess, 80s pop, Japanese anime kind of stuff is what they wanted. So, and yeah, they delivered. So I was very happy with the music in this game, which is important for a music game.
I think the music is probably my favorite part of the game. I wouldn't go as far as to say that like I didn't sometimes get tired of a song, because you have the 8 stages.
It's the same
song,
right?
Song plays entirely throughout.
For each world.
I don't know. Maybe half that would have been better for me. Like if there was like double the amount of songs, and then or if it remixed them somehow,
right?
A motif or something.
Yeah, maybe the
like
songs,
something to, because the way that they and maybe this is on purpose to keep you in the groove. Like the way that the songs play, they moving from level to level, the song doesn't stop. It continues on the loop as you move through all 8 levels. There's no like break or anything in between. It just keeps going and going and going until you move on to the next world.
Yeah. It would have been cool idea, just as a bit more of a gameplay thing, but two things. Like one, like you're saying, maybe each stage you gotta have the song maybe be a bit like simple on that first area, and then it could be designed, the song will be missing parts of the production that gets added in on each stage, and it kind of gets like more, it becomes the complete song by the time you're like at the end of it. Maybe that would be one way to do it, and to make it kind of simple way to
sort of like Rock Band, like you play one instrument, like Guitar Hero or Rock Band, play one instrument at a time and like create the music over time and builds it together.
Yeah. And I also like the idea of like maybe if you were to Pigeon and when you get hurt, maybe the song, like the tempo drops, and that's like your life indication. And then
if you go off beat enough times, the song goes silent. I think
it does. Yeah, and I think all you hear is the metronome if you are offbeat enough. So I think that's supposed to be like kind of a crutch to like help you focus on just the beat, the tempo. But more interactivity, and I think. Yeah, we kind of had a similar, I think, complaint about Humanity. But anyway, for this, just more interactivity with the music would have been pretty cool. But I agree that I think I like the vibe in general. I like the visuals. I like the way the game looked. It was good for the type of game that it is, and it was fun, lighthearted, and the music was cool. I enjoyed it.
The souvenirs, I mean, there are souvenirs. I guess that's something that's in the game to collect, but I guess it's hard to be like, well, I'm not sure it would really be. Like some of the things, like I'm not going out of my way over there to cross a couple people to go get that those shoes, those high heels over there.
Yeah, so there's like that's part of like the extra challenge is to collect every souvenir in every level. You don't have to; they're completely optional, but they give you extra life.
Yeah, there is the incentive that it gives you basically life, so that is an incentive to get it if you don't already have.
And there's achievements, I believe, because I didn't
there were plenty of parts where I would just like collect some items and then I would just like hammer through like pedestrians, like
slip them
bulldoze through.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I don't care if
I get hit. I got enough. Like I've got a necklace and sunglasses on. I'm good.
I did like the way the souvenirs looked on the Pigeon too. They were cute. It was nice.
Yeah, they give you that little visual in the bottom right corner of your Pigeon, like a larger size image of him, so you can see him like bopping.
Right.
With his new like digs, like whatever he's wearing.
And if you complete the level with the souvenirs, then you get them added to your souvenir page collection, and in that page you can also mix and match, and you can put them on the you can put any assortment of them onto your Pigeon, which is kind of fun and like a little fun extra thing to have in there.
But it's pretty. I mean, like the music. That's a pretty simple game. It's the music and it's like the gameplay, and that's kind of like pretty much it.
Yeah, it's a simple game. I would say.
Yeah.
Fun, simple game that I think just needs a little bit more work to really hit it home, but enjoyable, for better or for worse. So, speaking of that, would like to just ask, did either any of you have like a specific moment in this game that you really liked or maybe really disliked? I'd imagine dislike could happen. I know, Dennis, you had mentioned there was quite a few bugs that you ran into. I unfortunately didn't really have that many, but
there's a couple. Yeah, for me, there was a soft lock. Well, you can restart the stage,
really?
yes, but I think it was the water stage. If you like a certain point,
I had the same in the water stage.
Yeah, you end up dying at some point. If you have the water at a certain level, you're just like stuck in the water or something.
Yep.
And yeah,
you were able to get into the water and die in the water.
What it is that for me, it was the checkpoint was on a level of water that I had changed in a different part of the level.
Oh,
so it sent me back to a checkpoint that was on a part of the water level that didn't have access to any other platforms or any. Just to clear that up, like there's a world where the main like gimmick is that you have to change the elevation of different platforms using water levels. Classic water stage you see in a lot of platform games. You push a lever and it either raises the water level up or down, and sometimes raises like floating platforms up and down. But the checkpoint would be on a floating platform that I had lowered or maybe raised or something, but I was on a different part of the level and I died, and it sent me back to that checkpoint, which you couldn't move from that checkpoint.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a bug, something that definitely shouldn't be there. Yeah. Yes, for sure.
There was times too when I'm like 100% sure I got stomped on like at least like 20 times and nothing happened. Maybe I don't know if it was just me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There were also times where I died, but the dying animation didn't happen. It just like
it just kind of stops.
I just kind of
resets. Yeah,
or I just like teleported. Like
that too. Yeah,
interesting. I didn't get much of this.
For my worst moment, I would say it was when I got soft locked in the water world.
Yeah, understandably. That's not a fun experience.
Because the only way out was to restart the level, and I actually got soft locked like 2 more times in that same level. I think.
Oh wow, at different spots.
Maybe 1 different spot, and 2 the same spot.
Right. Yeah, they'll have to fix that, I think. Hopefully, if they're listening. I guess I'll try to put in a positive favorite moment. I didn't really have like one specific moment. But I did enjoy. I found myself like kind of bobbing with the chicken, with the pigeon to the music.
Travel on chicken.
Yeah, Travel on Chicken. That's the sequel. I did enjoy. I found myself like bobbing along with the pigeon to the beat, like listening or to the music, and so that was a nice little moment I had, I guess, with the game, where I found myself getting into the tunes and the rhythm.
Yeah, I did too. Almost surprisingly, I was kind of like, whatever. And then like a couple times, I was like, getting frustrated with getting killed. But I was like, I was into the music, so I didn't mind as much. I'm like, all right, I'm digging this tune, and
I also noticed that they had Japanese subtitles in the trailer video on Steam on YouTube.
I saw that,
which was surprising to me. And then heard the Japanese lyrics, like, oh, okay, they definitely have some kind of interest in Japan. I know they're not Japanese devs, so I asked them about that, and they said they're both kind of self-admittedly anime dweebs, is the way I think that she referred to it. She said especially her husband. So I think they're really into that kind of Japanese pop aesthetic and language and stuff like that. So that's cool. It's cool to see that, because we are, as we mentioned a number of times, we are all located in Japan. We all speak Japanwhich.
And we're dweebs.
And we're all dweebs because we're
speak for yourselves. Speak for yourselves. All right.
About what? Which part?
The dweeb part.
I think you watch more anime than anyone here. Probably, I think.
I mean, but I don't even watch that much anime. But I don't think either of you watch any anime. It seems like so.
Dennis watches more than I used to
be an anime dweeb.
Yeah. I would say I've watched the big ones.
I watch a healthy amount, and if you compare us to probably I would say younger people, they probably consume way more anime than we do. I think.
Well, I mean, there's definitely people who consume more than us, but
also when you've lived here as long as we have, you kind of it kind of falls away from you, I think.
Yeah. I'm not exposed to it anymore so much. I don't really know what's going on.
It's so hard to. That's a separate podcast. It's so hard for me to get into any new anime now. It's like,
have you tried?
I have tried. I have tried to watch.
I know what you're gonna say. Wait,
what?
Make anime.
Make anime great again.
Make anime great again. Oh, MAGA. That is a good MAGA. You know what? That's a good shirt idea. Make anime great again.
That is great.
I have just TM'd that. Yeah.
Well, I
right
think
here.
That was Dennis who made that.
So,
I think that's Dennis. Yeah. Dennis gets the credit on that.
That's a good idea. I was not thinking about that. I'm always using the MAGA line, but yeah, make anime great again. That is true. It's a different thing.
All right. So, would you consider this a limited lives game, and do you recommend it? Let's start with Dennis.
Definitely is a limited lives game in that it's incredibly short and easy to jump into and out of. But I would only recommend it to the most casual of gamers, because I don't think for me, it didn't do enough to keep me engaged throughout, even though it is quite short, but throughout the entire runtime. But it does fit the criteria for being a limited lives game. Yeah.
All right.
I still think it's a very cute and charming game, though.
Absolutely. All right, Phil.
Yeah, also it's a limited lives game. I definitely think it's a limited lives game in length. And as far as recommendation, I think it kind of depends if you're into city pop and kind of like an easy going game, then yes. But yeah, if you're a bit more hardcore about your games in general, then no. So it's a bit of an asterisk for me. That's how I'm gonna.
So you're like a yes and a no with the recommendation.
I am. If this fits your target demographic, it's a yes.
If you're gonna like this game, then I recommend it.
You know what I mean? Like if you're into dark and gritty something games like that, definitely not. And
right,
you have to have your expectations. Yeah, you got to have your expectations leveled, and you need to know what you're getting into, as I do say quite often. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for me, definitely limited lives game, easy, short, fun, casual, brightly colored, fun. And yeah, I would say I would recommend this game. I think I do, with the main asterisk for me being about like the kind of the UI and controller support and basic things like that I think it should have. But the gameplay itself and the music were fun in general. I enjoyed it. It is very casual, but I would recommend it. So yeah, check it out if you're interested, especially if you like music, rhythm games. I think this is a fun little one to jump into. I think this could even make for a good mobile game.
Yeah.
If they get the calibration down, yeah.
If they make it, if they can get it to work well on mobile, then for sure. Thank you so much for listening to our episode on Travel on Pigeon. Our next game is going to be Heavy Rain, which is kind of an old one, 2010, but looking forward to that. So look forward to that episode. It's going to be an interesting one, I'm sure. You can find us on social media at Limited Lives Cast, Blue Sky and Instagram, and X at Limited Lives Pod. We can also find us on YouTube at Limited Lives TV, and our email address is limitedlivescast@gmail.com. And remember, every gaming moment is a chance for greatness.